voice sounds like that sometimes. Okay.
Hi, and welcome to another video on Seated. Today we are talking all about the advice I would give my 20-year-old self. Yes, I am no longer in my 20s, but I have 4 things that I thought about that is broad enough where you can apply it at any time in your life. But I realized that these were some heavy things that I had to start learning in my late 20s, and it took me a little bit to learn, and through trial and error I feel like I've got them down. And yeah, so stay tuned for the advice. The first thing that I would tell my 20-year-old self is to make friends with your body. Make friends, I don't know, get to know your body intimately. And I say this because I grew up with pretty healthy eating habits. My mom, she was a big stickler about this. And it was like something that stuck with me for a large part of my life. And still now, I really stick to a lot of these healthy eating habits that she taught us. And I never really grew up with a lot of sugar in my life or like eating fast food or anything like that. And trust me, as an adult, I've done plenty of that. It's not about that, but I always kind of come back to eating healthy. But there are other things about my body that I don't think that I really got the chance to know intimately until I got into my 30s or my late 20s. And one of them is for all the women out there, but this applies to men as well, but getting to know your own cycle. And for women, this would apply mostly to their moon cycles, but men have cycles as well, of your hormonal cycle and how this affects you throughout the month or throughout the year. And the reason why I bring this up is because if you can hone in on your natural cycle that you have within your body, your productivity raises so much. So during the times where you know you're not going to feel your best or most energetic, you're going to try and plan things in your week that are a little easier for you to take care of, maybe things that aren't so emotionally draining, or maybe your workout schedule for that week will be a little less rigorous or more rigorous. Say you're during certain times of the month, you're full of energy, so you do a lot of productive tasks during that week. Or if like you're much happier, you're a go-getter during certain weeks, then you can maybe, oh, sorry about that, I got it. You can maybe schedule tasks for yourself that are a little bit emotionally draining and things that you can tackle when you're feeling at your best and most confident. Another thing that I like to really do nowadays is intuitive eating. And a lot of this came around because I really got into some bad eating habits where I would maybe binge eat or eat a bunch of like the wrong foods, and then I'd like not eat at all, barely anything, and maybe barely anything of the wrong foods. And I totally threw my body off balance. And I finally have come into the realization that during certain times, and why also learning your cycles is important, during certain times of the month or year, I want to intuitively eat differently. And I want different things, and when I'm not honoring that, I kind of go ham on certain like treats, or eating heavily at night and not during the day. And to break this cycle, I started to really just listen to my body. And when it did want something sugary, I'd give it something sugary. And or like, this might be hard for some of like the vegans out there, but if I went through times in my life where I really tried to be vegan, and I totally wholeheartedly believe that we consume way too much animal product. I like stand by that, and I believe in like compassion and treating our animals with respect. But for me, there were certain times where I just really needed to eat some kind of animal protein to help balance out my body. And sometimes, like, I don't, I honestly, I can't tell you the scientific reason behind it or exactly what is going on in my body, like verbatim, but it's just like a feeling that I would get, or this knowingness. And when I don't honor that knowingness, I kind of react in other ways. And so that's kind of where I'm more getting at, is that if you mostly pay attention to your diet and you're eating healthy and, eating a lot of whole fruits and vegetables and grains, and you don't, carb restrict, and you eat properly on a regular basis, you can tell when there are times when you need a higher intake of protein. Maybe you're working out a lot at the gym, and even that, it just really depends on the person. This is why getting to know your body and getting to know it very intimately is so important, especially for your self-confidence. Putting away all the studies and on all the documentaries and all the things that other people are telling you that have worked for them, and just getting to know you and your body and what it needs and its own natural cycles and rhythms is so important, especially when we get into those later years in life. And I really saw a snapshot of that when I was around the corner, turning 30. I really started honing in on okay, well, what are the habits I have put in place now that are going to benefit me when I'm 50, 60, 70 years old, because I want to be around. Okay, so the next thing that I would advise my 20-year-old self is creating healthy coping mechanisms and habits. And I believe nowadays they almost go hand in hand. Our world is in an insane time right now. I mean, there is so much going on, and it is a very confusing time. It's a very heavy, dense. It can be scary and uplifting all at once, but something that you will always need to fall back on, something that you will always need to readjust or come back to. I can't think of all the synonyms that pertain to this, but you will always need to have healthy coping mechanisms and healthy habits in your life to fall back on. When the world around you is crumbling, you, no matter what, need to know how to take care of yourself. You're gonna need to know how to treat yourself, take care of yourself, how to honor the parts of you that is scared and confused, honor the parts of you that are happy. It's the most important thing to do for yourself is learning healthy coping mechanisms and healthy habits. And a lot of this comes about because this is for everybody. I mean, this is pretty general, right? Everybody needs to know this. But I realized I struggled with depression, anxiety a lot in my 20s. This has been by far one of my biggest struggles, is my mental health in my life, because I have been through a lot of stuff, and I like how I say it so casually, but it's not. I've been through a lot of trauma in my life, especially as a child and as a teenager, and I didn't have people around me to show me or teach me healthy habits or healthy coping mechanisms. The biggest habit that I learned was healthy eating, and like I said, I really thank my mom for that, because I've seen people who didn't necessarily have that in their lives, and they really struggle with their nutrition. But for the most part, the people around me did not have healthy coping mechanisms, and I think I definitely took some of that on myself, and I've really struggled with trying to balance out my mental health, and then also living a healthy, happy life without going through those dips that we go through so much. It's so common for people who have depression or anxiety, who live with us every day, to go through really long bouts of depression and not knowing how to get yourself out of it or to cope with certain things that may come up in your life, no matter what it is. But it may be financial struggles, relationship struggles, struggles with education, you know, even something as simple as like, okay, this is what do they call it, like dead week in university, I need to study for all these exams. How, you know, what are the things I could do so I could be the most productive and you know, on my A game mentally. And even, you know, no matter what, life has challenges, and you know, it might not be as bad as it used to be, and you may not be in an abusive environment anymore, but no matter what, you're going to need to have healthy habits and coping mechanisms so when those challenges do arise or when something does happen, it doesn't affect you like it used to or like it would normally do, and you can move through the energy much easier. Because you can't stop life from happening. You just can't. Even as badly as I want to sit here and be like, you know, nothing horrible is gonna happen to me anymore. I know for a fact that ish happens in life, and the more we can learn to take the best out of it and learn from it and move on and not carry it within us and just drown in it or stuff it down and pretend like it didn't even happen or pretend it wasn't even there, and or just like, you know, bend over backwards and, you know, let people walk all over you, the sooner you can learn to be a more productive person on your own. Yeah, ain't nothing gonna get to me, you know? I think enough said. Okay, so the third thing that I would advise and tell my 20-year-old self is that it is okay to be different, and that difference, that weirdness you have inside of you, that thing that you can't forget about, that you want to be, and even if it's not an exact occupation, it might be just the feeling that you want or the things that you're into, it doesn't matter. What makes you different is your strength. I beat down what made me different for so long because, you know, I'm getting a little emotional, but I never truly believed that, you know, what is weird or different about me is what was good about me. I always felt like, okay, I need to change this, or I can't talk to people about these like weird and different things, or if I am like this, because especially in my 20s I was a little socially awkward. I'm better now, but I still have that like social awkwardness. It would make me feel really bad. And there's also, you know, because I felt bad about it, there was people also in my life that reflected that and, you know, would make me feel even worse about it. And honestly, looking back on it, I really wish I had taken what was different and what was special about me and the things that I did go through in my life and really just ran with it and just kind of owned it and made it a part of my confidence and my self-belief, because now I'm finally doing that. Like now it's like, oh, I do have something to offer in the world. Yeah, there's these certain things about me, but these are qualities in me that I need because I have a certain impact that I'm making on the world. And if I want to do that, I need to have these qualities. I mean, I think the biggest one is like the people who are critical thinkers and the people who are, you know, kind of blatantly say who they are or what they think are the ones who get really put down the most. And this kind of comes out in like conspiracy theories a bit, or conspiracy theorists. But I really would see certain issues in environments and I would bring it up. And it was always something that, I mean, you know, so I was in the military when I was younger, and I would bring up, you know, certain things that was really wrong that was happening around me, and I would talk about these things, and it was like, okay, like, what do you think you know about the world? You're 20 years old. basically is what the backlash of everything was. And I started like slowly just shutting myself down and really I stopped putting myself out there, my thoughts out there, and the things that I wanted to do, I just didn't do anymore. And I started gravitating towards the people who, even though they were strong, they were people who just reflected the parts of me that I wasn't okay with. I think also there was like this part of me that denied parts of myself. And because of that, it turned into multiple situations where I was just giving my power away to other people. And a lot of these people did not have my best interest at heart. They had theirs. I had a hard time seeing it, and even if I did see it, I was like okay with it, because it's like I'm just gonna be easygoing, you know, because the things that I do say or the things I do believe in, maybe that's just not what is out in the world, you know? I think there's definitely points in your life where you get so beaten down that, okay, I'm gonna protect everything that I don't think people like, and I am going to just kind of like conform to what I think people do like, or parts of myself where I think they may be strong, and they're going to shield me away from anything that may be negative or anything that may be hurting me. But at the end of the day, you're just denying yourself, and you're denying parts of yourself, and you can take what makes you different and just use it as strength and use it as, you know, beauty, and move forward with that in grace and cherish it and water it and let it grow. Honestly, let those parts of yourself grow. Yeah. So fourth and last thing that I would tell or advise my 20-year-old self is, you're not gonna have it all figured out. I know, shocker, 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 shocker. I have dealt with that so much in my life, and I don't think I'm the only one. I think a lot of people do. I know my partner does. I know my family does, I think. I mean, and I don't talk about it so much anymore, but like there is so much emphasis, and I don't know why this is yet. I don't know, of okay, when I hit 30, or when I make this amount of money, or when I have this job, or when I'm in this position, or when I'm, you know, 35, and when I've accomplished this goal, blah, 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 I'm gonna have this, this, and this figured out, and my life's gonna look like this, this, and this. I can tell you for a fact that that will never happen. That won't. And that doesn't mean that you're not gonna accomplish your goals. That doesn't mean that you're not going to, you know, have your dream life. It just doesn't. You need to, okay, you need to, and I definitely needed to take off that pressure. You know how much pressure you're putting on yourself when you are like, okay, I am going to have this all figured out, and I'm going to be this kind of person, and I'm going to do this, this, and this. That is so much pressure that like you become weighted down. You can't even move through or enjoy what you're trying to do. And then sometimes it breaks you. And then sometimes when you even get that goal, it doesn't feel like what you thought it did, because you had put so much pressure and imaginary like emotions to it. I think the biggest thing that really surprised me about this is that I placed a lot of emphasis on going to university and graduating. This was such a big deal for me, because I had planned a large majority of my life around going to university. It was like I joined the military to go to university. I did so many things to do this. And when it happened, when it came time to leave that season of my life, it felt so mundane and it felt silly. And then looking back on it, it was like, why in the first place did I even care to do this? Yeah, I love education. Yes, I love knowledge. I love, 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 love knowledge, and I love science, and I love learning. I truly do. But Is it what I needed in my life? Is this what really helped me? Did it nurture me the way I needed to be nurtured? Do I feel good about it now? Does it even matter? I mean, it like, especially with where I want to take my life now, I'm not sure if it even mattered. What I use most in my life is the life skills that I've learned through all these challenges. And it's funny because it's like, most likely that is why I needed to go through all these things and all these events in my life, is so I could learn, grow, and regurgitate it back to my little seedlings. But I would place so much emphasis on certain parts of my life or times in my life, and it never really looked the way I thought it was going to be. And so really, instead of doing that, take a step back and really enjoy the moment. And I know that is cliche, and I know that is not easy to do, especially for me. But enjoy the moment and enjoy the journey of what you are doing, and know that you will accomplish what you're here to do. For all the people out there that have that burning desire, that burning light inside of them, you will accomplish what you were born here to do. You will have the life that you want and that you're meant for. Enjoy the journey along the way, and try not to take some of these big goals or big things like getting married or having kids or age or degrees or money and make it everything. Because when you get it and you don't enjoy the journey, there's nothing else. It's just that one thing, and there's nothing else that came with it. You can't be like, oh my gosh, I enjoyed this and this about it. It's like, no, there was nothing, because I was pretty much just stressed and put under so much pressure to try and be successful or be this version of myself that I thought was, pleasant for the world. I couldn't even enjoy the journey along the way or who I was during that time in my life. And that's like a big one. Enjoy who you are now. You're never going to be it again. Something else is going to come up, another challenge. Like, there's always going to be something. And if you don't enjoy the person that you were before that, you're going to miss out on it. You're going to be sad. You're going to be like, okay, dang, I was really like this at 25. I look back and really cherish some of the parts of myself, especially in my 20s, because I had so much imagination. I had so much like feeling inside of me, but I had so much tunnel vision. I had so much, best to say tunnel vision, and I just did not look around me and be like, oh, this is what I have now, and this is what's really great. And I was, more than that, I was so afraid of not succeeding or doing the things that I thought I wanted to do, that I think a lot of the lessons I'm learning now is that, like, you got to drop that fear, because it holds you back. Fear is like such a big thing. And when you're consumed by that because you're afraid of what other people are saying or what other people are doing, or you're even afraid of yourself, that you can't bring out that like divine spark within you. You can't. You got to drop it. You got to be accepting of who you are and where you're at, and then move forward from there. Okay, so that is it. I hope you enjoyed my video. Please don't forget to like, comment, subscribe. I enjoyed this so much. And so also, in the comments, what would you tell your 20-year-old self, or what would you tell yourself in the past? I'm really like interested to hear what you guys would say, and a little tidbits of advice for each other, tidbits of advice for me is so like greatly appreciated. And as long as you do it with love and care, it will go far. All right, bye guys.